Everybody, it's Tasha. Okay, so listen, I wanted you to hear this interview this morning on Morning Joe with the Veterans Association, the main guy. Okay, so just check it out, everybody. Check it out.
If I win this fall, no one will work harder for our troops, our veterans, and our military families.
Remember, America first, America first. You're one group I don't have to tell you to remember it also. You know it. We are in your debt very deeply. I will never let you down.
The candidates vying to be the next commander-in-chief brought their pitches to the veterans at the American Legion last week, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are set to square off tomorrow in the first ever Commander-in-Chief Forum organized by the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. That'll be right here on MSNBC. And joining us now to discuss the state of our veterans is Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Robert McDonald. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Good morning, Meek. It's great to be here.
So, how are things going with the VA? Obviously, you came in under tough circumstances, and it's sort of remained tough. Where are you making progress? Where do you need to make more progress?
Well, I've been secretary about 2 years now, Joe, and remember, prior to that, I ran the Procter & Gamble company.
Right.
I've been at Procter & Gamble for 33 years. So the idea was, how do we come into the VA? And the president charged me to transform the VA and make it a successful healthcare business.
Right.
Over the last 2 years, now each year we've had about 4 million more completed healthcare appointments than we had before.
Right.
Hired more doctors, put in 4 million square feet of new space, more nurses, expanded hours. We've driven down the disability claim backlog by about 90% from its peak of 611,000. And we've cut veteran homelessness in about half since 2010. Making progress, but we've got more to do.
And the GAO said in April that the system still is not. You all still haven't fixed the scheduling problem. What are they talking about?
We're in the midst of implementing a new scheduling system. The original scheduling system dated in 1985.
Right.
It was a very old system. We're fixing that. There are a lot of things that need fixed.
How are you fixing it?
We hired a new head of IT. She was the head of IT at Johnson & Johnson and at Dell. We brought in 14 of 17 of my top managers are new. We're in the midst of a transformation. Yes.
So given this transformation, what are you hoping to hear from the candidates tomorrow night?
The most important thing I need to hear is that Congress is going to act. We have put forward 100 different pieces of legislation that we need to continue this transformation. Some of them are absolutely critical to veterans getting...
Which ones? What are the most important?
Well, extensions, things like provider agreements, things like there's something called the 80-hour pay period, which causes us not to be able to run emergency rooms in the right way. Taking people to what's called Title 38, which would allow us to pay competitively and hire competitively with the private sector.
Why isn't Congress?
And they passed out of committee in a unanimous way something called the Veterans First Act. The House hasn't done that.
Why not?
You tell me.
Well, what are they telling you? What's Paul Ryan's office telling you?
What I'm learning is that the divisiveness in the House is not allowing these things to get through committee into the floor. In contrast, in the Senate, we've got it through the committee in a bipartisan way, unanimous. We just have to get it to the floor.
Are they claiming it's a funding issue?
No, it's not a funding issue. It's simply an issue of getting something to the floor and getting it voted on. As you know, in the Senate, any individual senator can put a hold on legislation, which stops everything.
But I'm saying, as far as the House goes, is it a funding issue? Right?
No, I think
it spends too much money.
I don't think so. I think there's tremendous unanimity for what needs to be done. It's just a matter of having the political will of getting it done.
Secretary, Donald Trump talks about privatizing some of the functions of the VA, allowing veterans to access more private health care. Good idea? Is there room for that or not?
And we think that's a bad idea. When I came in and before my Senate confirmation, some senators had asked me to look at that. I'm a business guy. I look at those kinds of things. And what I discovered was not only do veterans need the VA and veterans want the VA, but also that the American public and American medicine needs the VA. Many things like first implantable pacemaker, first liver transplant, first kidney transplant, shingles vaccine. Many of these things were invented in the VA, and without those inventions, what would happen? The VA trains 70% of the doctors in the country. Without the VA, who would train those doctors? And then clinical care. You know, the over 80% of veterans say they prefer getting their care at the VA, and they recommend it to a friend.
Can I ask you about a story this summer that I'm sure upset everybody and goes way beyond ideological warfare that our country is entrenched in, and that's that the number of veteran suicides is up 35%. I think according to the New York Times has been tracking this for a long time, since 2001. Can you talk a little bit about your patient population, how they're doing, and what's being done, and,
Sure.
and how mission critical this is to stem this trend?
Well, I think of all the things we're working on, eliminating suicide is at the top of the list. There's no question that any suicide of any veteran is a terrible thing. We recently published new numbers. Our original study was done with a relatively small base. This is a larger base. We worked with the HHS on it, and
You got a larger pool of
larger
age, right?
pool
So there were
of
veterans
people.
from different wars, right?
And what we discovered was it's about 20 a day. And what we found out is those who are connected to the VA and are getting treatment are less likely to commit suicide than those who aren't. So the biggest challenge for us is how do we get people connected? And we have a lot of programs to do that. We have a new hashtag that we're doing on Twitter, but really need the help of the American public. When you notice the signs of suicide, someone wants to be isolated, someone's despondent, get them connected. Call our crisis line. Let's get them connected so we can treat them.
All right, Secretary of Veterans Affairs Bob McDonnell, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Honored
Mika.
to
It's
have
good to
you
be
on the
with you.
show.
Thank you,
for
Secretary.
what you're
Thank you.
doing. You can watch the first ever Commander-in-Chief Forum presented by NBC News in the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on MSNBC. And still ahead this morning, Apple